Welcome to Big Life Weekly Series, where we empower high achievers to break free from limits, unlock their natural potential, and live a big life. I'm your host, Robert Acosta, and each week we will explore the strategies, mindsets, and tools you need to thrive, not just in your professional career, but in every aspect of your life. Whether you're a leader looking for a better balanced life, an entrepreneur aiming for sustainable success, or someone ready to take the next step toward your best self, this podcast is your space to grow, reflect, and take action. Let's dive into today's episode. Hello, I'm Robert Acosta. I'm with Nick Ford from Transparent Staffing in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Let's jump right in and start showcasing your business. So, Nick, can you give us a 90-second overview of what your business does and why you got into it?
Absolutely. So my career started out in healthcare recruiting. So I majored in sales in college, and as an intern, I jumped into the locum tenens industry, which is temporary staffing, typically for doctors and nurses. So out of college, I spent about 6 years in the locum tenens industry, focused on recruiting for doctors, specifically psychiatrists. So a lot of my history and background is in the behavioral health industry. So at Transparent Staffing, we believe in bringing transparency to the staffing industry. And we do that by being upfront and honest with our clients and candidates. We believe that being as transparent about a job and as transparent with clients about candidates results in the best long-term fits. And so we focus primarily in behavioral health, but we also are fairly industry agnostic and have experience working in other industries outside of behavioral health as well.
So, why you started this? Why you got into this health and recruiting people? Right.
Yeah, I mean, I studied sales in college because I love networking and communicating with people and solving problems. And so, I started Transparent Staffing back in January of 2021, partly because I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'd always wanted to work for myself. I had a desire to build something that was my own. That was inspired in a big way by my grandfather. He owned a business with about 300 employees. So I kind of saw him do it. And so that made it real for me. And so, why recruiting? I just love connecting people. I love networking. I love the satisfaction of making that fit between a candidate and a client when it's a really good match. Like we just had a director of sales that started with a client in North Carolina, and the candidate is just so excited about the job. He loves the team. He loves the mission of the company. And on the other side, the company is just so excited to have him build out their sales team. He's very strategic, and it was just a perfect match. And so we love making those kind of connections.
Right. So maybe you have already answered the next question, but what do you enjoy most about your work in the recruiting and talent consulting in this health industry?
Yeah, I think back to networking and meeting people. I love learning about people's stories, what makes them tick. And, I think that the more I can connect with people, especially the people I'm doing business with, whether it's a candidate I'm helping with a job or a client that I'm helping them build out their team with hiring top talent, I enjoy getting to know people and networking and seeing how I can best help them, toward their future success in their personal life and their career, or the company toward their vision.
Right. And people, you're mentioning people is the most important asset of any organization, right? So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. And I used to be in payroll. It's also the biggest line item for any organization as well, typically.
no. So how do you define success in the work you do?
I think that having clients and candidates that can look to us as a trusted partner and be able to tell people that they rely on us and trust us to find the best people for their team, and then a candidate that we place when they go to work and the career path that they chose is as advertised. It was what they thought it was going to be, being able to set clear expectations and have those delivered on. And then also, we obviously have financial goals. So there's certain, financial metrics that we have that I have for the company and that my business partner has. And so obviously we track those, but I really prioritize. I think that if you take care of your people, they'll take care of your business. So I feel like if we do a really good job for clients, it'll translate to the financial side of it.
That's great. So I'm just curious, what is the biggest challenge you see in your industry of it's a health industry and recruiting health industry, and how are you solving that for yourself, your clients, colleagues, and your referral partners?
So, as far as talent, it's constantly changing in the job market. 2 years ago, it was a very candidate-driven market, meaning candidates could kind of ask for what they wanted and get it. Whether that was working remotely, salary, companies were offering, high salary dollars with flexibility. Now it's shifted somewhat, at least in the areas I'm working in, to a more candidate, rather not a candidate-driven market, more client-driven market. And candidates are, struggling to get those remote work options a little bit more. As far as the healthcare industry, it's, going to be a continued challenge and has been for the last 10 years since I've been in it, just because there's not enough clinicians coming out of training. There's not enough doctors that are going into medical school. There's not enough nurse practitioners that are going into specialized nursing school. So, healthcare organizations are having to adapt to that. And, AI is obviously a factor in that now, trying to streamline efficiency. They can't get enough doctors and nurses, then, especially large health organizations want to see how they can get the doctors and nurses they do have to see more patients. And, I was just at a conference in Nashville called Vive, and there's an AI tool for employee medical record where the doctor doesn't even have to type up medical records anymore. It's automatically recorded by AI, it's put in the EMR, electronic medical record system for them. And then that just allows them to be more efficient, probably see more patients, and also have, more time with patients to improve, outcomes.
Yeah, there are a lot of things happening and changing very rapidly. So we were going to talk about
hmm
that in a minute, but tell me now, who is your ideal client? What significant outcomes can they expect when they work with you?
Yeah. So the ideal client for us is, typically small to medium-sized businesses, anywhere from 30 to 200 employees is kind of the ideal client. Usually those size companies, they may not have the full recruiting team that they can rely on to go do active searches for, especially niche roles. And by active search, I mean they're out actually seeking candidates rather than just passively, having a candidate apply by a job board. So what they expect by partnering with us is that we are going to go find the best fit candidates, not just the candidates that are on the market. We had five candidates start back in January, and three of those were not looking for a job. We went out and seeked them out because they were the best fit for the job.
Mm.
For instance, that director of sales that started Tuesday, he had to, resign from a position to take this new role. And, he initially wasn't really interested in it. He didn't really see, the benefit from just the job description. But
Mhm.
after we were able to contact him and learn more about what his, career plans were, this opportunity was the perfect fit for him to allow for career growth and to move up into a higher level role for him.
Yeah, it's amazing that, as you say, there are people not seeking or not looking for anything, any change, but in their minds, they know they can be better, or they can do better, or they can be in a better place, even though they are not actively seeking. So you are the one that are looking for those things in a way you detect them, and then there you got it. There's a happy marriage. So
Yes.
you know how nowadays more people are active when some people do actively seeking solutions to achieve better outcomes. So in a way that I said it just so what makes you unique in the way you help them achieve those outcomes?
Yeah, I think that looking back on, the last 4 years, since before I started the company, I had the idea of bringing transparency to the staffing industry. And I think that the ability for me to be just completely open and honest versus how, companies I'd worked with in the past and staffing were, there's a tendency for a recruiter to want to spin a job. They want to make it seem enticing. And sometimes that goes too far to where it doesn't turn out to be the way the candidate thought it would be. So I try to be able to tell a candidate the good and the bad of a job. And not everything's going to be perfect, but people usually have a fear of the unknown and they'd rather know a bad outcome or a bad, thing about the company than not know anything. So, we've made over 40 placements with our clients, and we have had a 98% retention rate. We've only owed one backfill where the fit wasn't the right fit, and we had to find a replacement. So it's been a very high level of retention, and so I think that is credited to the transparency, the client and the candidate knowing as much as possible about the job and the candidate, which I think has resulted in better long-term fits.
Yeah, it's, sometimes the rush of feeling a one position, it makes you make a bad decision, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes the consequences are worse that if you take the time to really select the right one. So yeah, makes sense.
Hmm.
Makes sense.
Right.
So what's the strangest or funniest incident that you have experienced while working in your recruiting and talent consulting? Do you have something to want to share? Something surprising maybe that happened and said, wow, I didn't know that this could happen.
Yeah, I may have to think about that for a minute. A few things come to mind that I probably shouldn't share. No, let me think about it for a minute. I think just sometimes you'll be surprised by, processes sometimes that clients will have, the way that they sometimes will, extend an interview process to where, it drags out so long that it, becomes a burden for the candidate, and sometimes the client will lose out. So that can be surprising, and that's something that we consult companies on because they may not realize it that they're trying to coordinate schedules with multiple people for an interview maybe, and so they need to push it out for 3 weeks. And I'll tell them like, hey, if you need to push it out for 3 weeks, I understand, but just know that this is a top tier candidate. They're in interview processes for other companies, and I've had it happen where, I didn't think it would happen. It was a surprise. It was like a shock. But, another company that was, a really solid company that this candidate was looking at, who's, again, a top tier candidate, they had an interview process that lasted a week and then they made an offer. And so the client I was representing, they lost out because their process just took too long. So, those kind of things happen, and we consult with companies and consult on the candidate side as well to try to, just educate and help streamline the process and make it go as smoothly as possible.
Okay, that's nice. So we were talking something at the beginning about the trends, so you were talking about that. So what do you see as the coming trends within your business or within your industry, the recruiting industry, and how are you staying on top of that?
Yeah, I think that the buzzword for everyone in every industry right now is AI.
Yeah.
We are definitely evaluating AI tools with a grain of salt. We care a lot about branding, and so anytime that you're automating things, we want to make sure that it doesn't impact our brand and the way we represent the company. So we're definitely. I see AI changing recruiting. I see it changing the sales process for a lot of organizations as well. I just, we proceed with caution with it and want to implement it in a smart way to where it meets, our brand and the way we want to represent ourselves, and then our processes for how we want to do recruiting. But I think that AI is definitely something that's here to stay and will continue to evolve, and that's something that we're keeping a close eye on, and we're adding some tools slowly to the process for ourselves.
So as I understand, you've been in this industry or with your business almost 20 years, right?
So I've been in the industry over 10 years. My business I started in January of 2021, so it's been about 4 years since I started transparent staffing. Yeah.
Okay. So, what
Yeah.
is the biggest failure or challenge that you faced to this point in your life, and how has that shaped the way you do business?
So as far as failure within the business, like I said, we've owed that one backfill, and it was something where I hated that it was not a good fit. It was I can give you the situation. It was we were hiring for a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and we found a really good candidate that was excited about the role. They had a private practice that they were going to be leaving behind, and they were excited to work for a remote telehealth company. That's who we were helping to recruit for. And at the end of the day, after they got started in the position, they couldn't handle leaving behind their caseload. They didn't want to leave their patients. And so they decided to go back to their private practice, which left my client in a bad position because they had a caseload now that wasn't going to be seen and filled. And so, that's a failure to me. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't always have full control since we're not, there on site. We're not the company that's hiring the candidate, but in that situation, that was a high priority for me. I wanted to make sure that they were taken care of as far as the client was concerned. And within 2 weeks, we had backfilled that was a pretty hard to fill position. They had to have a licensed psychiatric nurse practitioner with experience working with children, and they had to have one specific state licensure. So it was a very niche pool, but we were able to backfill that position in about 2 weeks, which was
Yeah.
the best of a worst situation.
Yeah, and I know when you work with people, nothing is perfect because we are unpredictable, right? Even with the good intention, something can change because we are, we're not perfect. So you
Of
have to be
course.
aware of that, right?
Of course, yeah. And like you said, we do the best we can by being transparent about the role, but people are unpredictable. That candidate didn't think she was going to have the problem she had with leaving her practice, but she did, and that's she needed to do what was best for her, and we made the most of the situation. So,
Yeah, that's the way, a good way to see it. So, what is the one thing that has been most instrumental in your success, you would say?
I think that for me, the word I've heard other people use describing me is just persistence. I'm very persistent. Whenever if something doesn't go my way, I am able to move past it quickly. Try to learn from it quickly. I love this quote. I'm a tennis player, and so Roger Federer gave a commencement speech, and he said that of the matches and the points that he played, he won 80% of the matches that he played in throughout his career, and he only won 54% of the points. And so he talked about how, if I got upset and let each point I lost bring me down, there's no way I could have won 80% of those matches. He's losing every other point, but he still was able to win 80% of those matches because he focused on the right points and won the right points. And so, I think just being able to be, for me, persistent and keep moving forward while learning from mistakes or things that don't go my way, I think that's what's helped me the most personally with, my success.
That's right. It's just recognizing that you can lose a battle, but you haven't lost the war, right? You keep
Exactly.
going. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Keep
So
moving
what is
forward.
what is the next? Let's talk about the future. What is the next
Mhm.
growth area for you personally and for your business?
Yeah, so we had an exciting new addition to the team back in November. I brought on Matt Price. He's our vice president of sales and recruiting, and he's a partner in the business as well. And so he was a very strategic hire. He has a background in project management and systems. And where I'm a doer, I just want to go out, go and do it. I'll use the analogy of like I'm the one that's going to go jump off the cliff and hope there's a lake underneath afterwards. And he's the one that's like, wait, hold on, let's check the wind speed. Let's make sure we have a parachute. Let's like take care of all of our bases before we, jump into something. So he's someone that I see as helping scale the business by implementing systems and processes and training for new hires. So, I think this year will be a big year for us to grow the company and move towards scaling. And so that's I'm excited about that. I think right now we're really in business development mode. So we're trying to, bring in new clients that we can partner with, keep, delivering for the clients we're already working with. And Matt is going to be a big part of that. And so I'm very excited to see how this year goes. It'll be a pretty impactful year for the business.
Yeah, it's a very good example what that you mentioned with the new acquisition in your company, because maybe by now you can recognize that, yeah, everybody has weaknesses, and you don't need to work on your weaknesses. You need to focus on what you do the best. And if you have some weakness, something that you don't know how to do, hire someone else. And then you have a balance even in perspective. And I think that's exactly what you're, well, not exactly, but maybe it's the kind of things that you are living now with this new manager, with this new acquisition, no? To have the balance of something that you want to risk it all, and someone said, well, let's risk it with some tact, right? But not necessarily.
Guardrails.
Exactly. Because yeah, I'm sometimes I like you, like I said, you just jump from a cliff and you're gonna develop wings in the fly. So you have to believe. And I think you
Yeah.
work that way. Persistence and believe. You believe that there's gonna be a solution if you don't see the whole path clearly.
Yeah.
There's a path for sure, right? I think that's the kind of the way you think, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that I get very excited about things and I just want to say yes and do it. And I think that's a good thing too, for an entrepreneur, that's a challenge because, I don't think that I would have ever started the business if I wasn't willing to take a risk and just jump in and do it and then figure it out later. There's definitely things I did not have figured out before I started and jumped in.
Yeah.
But now, I'm realizing that if I want to grow and scale, I've got to, be a little more strategic, and so Matt will be, a good partner in that.
Yeah, and exactly, you can do it with others. You can do
Yeah,
your own business by yourself, but if you team up with others, you're gonna go faster and you're gonna have all those perspectives that you can never have on your own, right? So yeah, I think
absolutely.
it's a good decision. So let me ask you this kind of funny question. If you could have lunch with one person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Well, I would have to say Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian, and so being able to have lunch and sit down with him would be, very impactful. I mean, he was he proclaimed to be the Son of God, so being able to pick his mind, I don't know who else I could possibly want to talk to than the person who created the universe. So I think that would probably be the person I would choose.
Do you can imagine a question, one of the questions that you would ask him?
Um, I don't know. There's probably a lot of different questions I could ask him. I mean, there'd be a lot of why. Why did you, do certain things or things like that. I don't know if I could think of one in particular that I want to ask.
Yeah.
Why were you willing to make the sacrifice that you did? Maybe.
Mm, okay. Yeah. Oh, well, it would be amazing just to have that. You can have it in your imagination, no? And get
Yeah, yeah,
your own answer, and maybe you're
right.
not going to be so far from the right one.
hmm Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Great. So how can people best contact you if they'd like to work with you or discuss referral partnerships?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great way. You can find me on LinkedIn, our website, which is transparentstaffing.us. And then my email is nick@transparentstaffing.us. Those are all great ways to get in touch. Email would probably be the fastest if you wanted to get in touch with me. So
Perfect. Okay, well, that was amazing. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you very much, Nick, for being a guest on the podcast.
absolutely, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining me on Big Life Weekly series. I hope today's episode gave you the insight, inspiration, and tools you need to move closer to the life you're meant to live. Remember, true success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about how you feel while you achieving it. If you found value in our conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with others who are ready to embrace their big life. Until next time, stay focused, keep growing, enjoy life, and break free.